Yo! What is going on, bassheads? In this video, we might have what could be the most insane budget deal on a sub that you can get. This is, of course, the Slapz Audio Oblivion 12-inch sub, and it only retails for $225, but you get an insane 4-inch coil, beefy motor, 2,000 watt RMS, 4,000 watt max ratings. In this video, we're going to find out if this is a budget gem or budget bust. Let's get into it. Tons of y'all have been asking me to review this sub, and I am so excited to do it. Without further ado, guys, let's get this thing opened and see what we're working with. First thing I noticed for $225, this thing is pretty heavy. Also, it is double boxed, so that's not a bad thing. Ooh, there it is. First off, we get a cool looking decal. What I like about this decal, guys, it's not just white or just black. Actually, a little color in it, something different. And check out this good looking fella. Okay. All right, now again, for $225, this is a decently heavy fella. Woo! Okay, y'all, this is insane. Again, a 4-inch coil is just crazy, especially on a 12. This is kind of nuts. Y'all, it is exciting to have this guy here. Been looking forward to doing this. And I gotta say, it is pretty crazy. Now again, quick rundown of the specs. 2,000 watts RMS, 4,000 max, 4-inch coil. We have a BL of around 21. Sensitivity is 87 dB. The FS is around 36. And we have a 270 ounce Y35 grade motor on this guy. Gotta get y'all the look at this thing. Does have a nice looking paper cone. That being said, it's not super stiff. Dust cap is pretty stiff, but again, not the stiffest thing ever. Does look nice though. I do love the white stitching. Of course, we have your nice, just basic rubber gasket on here. We then have the pretty much legendary TI frame basket. Very common frame. Personally, guys, I get a little tired of seeing TI frames. That being said, with this sub being such an absolute budget sub, I don't really mind it in this case. Let's take a look inside here. Oh man, so they have a little block that's stepping this up here, which means there's not much room under here, guys. It is kind of tight. We do have two separate spiders, one on top, one on the bottom there. And this does feel like a high quality ring. I've had some subs where the ring was really cheap and it would pull up under heavy excursion and your spider would kind of pull out of it. This guy feels pretty nice. We also have nice bolts holding it down. We have really nice tinsel leads for a $200 sub, guys. Look at that. 2 strands of the flat wire per coil. Really like this as well. We got the big old oversized push terminals on this thing. It says 6-gauge oversized push terminals. Very happy with these. Coming down to here, y'all. Video will not do it justice, I'm sure, because it never does, but that coil inside this is just absolutely huge. Insane. Here's your standard 3-inch coil, guys. You can just see how much smaller it is on a 12 sub as opposed to a 4-inch. When it comes to 12-inch subs, guys, 4-inch is really the biggest you're ever going to see. It's actually very rare you see a 4-inch. Normally, companies use 3-inch coils because you still can get a pretty good coil for 3-inch. And with it having a smaller diameter, that allows for a bigger spider, which gives you more excursion. But the nice thing about a 4-inch coil, they can have a lot higher RMS rating, hence why this guy is 2,000 watts RMS. Now, the only bigger coil that I've really ever seen in a sub, in a 12-inch sub, over a 4-inch, is this insane fella right here, of course. The Defbon's Audio 4512R. Well, this guy has a 4.5-inch coil inside of it, which is ridiculous. That being said, this guy's also rated at like 4,000 watts RMS, which is crazy. Now, that gives me a good segue into, of course, the sponsor of this video, Alfred Audio. Super quick word from them, then back to the video. YouTube, if you want to buy some equipment that you know is going to last you, that you know you can put in, it's going to work well, it's going to sound great, and you want something that is going to be an awesome bang for the buck, no matter what your budget is, and you guys, you got to go check out Alfred Audio. Of course, they have their Def Bonds lineup that you see here. Bunch of great subs from them, all the way from $100 budget subs to top of the line $1,000 subs. Same goes for amps, guys. They have tons of options, anywhere from super compact, great quality amps to absolutely massive 20Ks. If you need it, they got it. Or if you want to save a little bit, their Avatar line is awesome as well. Still absolutely great quality stuff at a little bit cheaper price. In my big build that I did this past summer, of course, I ran 8 of the Avatar STU 15s, and I could not have been happier with that setup. Those subs were a great value and took the power like nobody's business. Link, of course, to Alfred Audio in the description below. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring this channel and just for also being a huge supporter of it. And once again, thank you. So back to the video. Real quick, guys, we have a new garage setup over here. Of course, the old setup was over here, but with that amp blue, I figured that was a good time for me to go ahead and start swapping stuff over. So, of course, I've shown y'all this setup in the past. This runs my highs and has my head unit and RCAs and whatnot. That being said, I now have a bass setup over here. Of course, ran off this Tar Amps smart charger. Up here, I've got my Boss 3K. That is what is powering this fella right here for the garage. So when I'm in here doing some work, I need some music. I got some nice bump in here. Then I've got this fella right here. This is ran to here, guys, which is hooked up to this. This is, of course, for when I do my RMS testing. I can have this whole setup right here. Then I've got these set up, guys, so I can turn that on. The first one, of course, powers on that amp over here. This guy powers on my LF Audio voltmeter, so I can track the volts on this thing. Of course, my charger's not on, that's why we're not sitting super high, but not bad. And then you can turn this one on. That turns on my big amp right here. And I have that wired into the LF Audio wireless bass knob, so I'll be able to hold this guy, have it, you know, adjust things as I'm doing the testing. Cannot wait to show you all this when we get to the brutal RMS test. Now, Slapz Audio recommends box 2 to 2.5 cubic feet. This box is 2.5 cubic feet, so that'll work. Also, it recommends the box is tuned to, I think it said 32 to 36 hertz or so. This box is tuned to 32 hertz, so this should get the job done. All right, fits in the box just perfect, so that is good. Let's get this thing screwed down, and then we'll let it break in for a few days. Y'all, had this thing in here actually almost a week, driving around, enjoying it. Y'all, we are snowing here. But fortunately, it's not too cold, so I can come out here and film some. From driving around, again, I've enjoyed it. Seems to take power just fine. That being said, the one thing I have noticed is that if you are pushing a lot of power to it, especially on lower frequencies, this thing does mechanically max out pretty quick. And when it does, it makes an absolute racket, guys. It smacks pretty hard. Again, as I kind of showed, having that big coil does not allow for as much X-Max, and there's just not really a lot of room between the, you know, basket of the Spider and whatnot. So anyway, guys, we'll do some more tests. I'll show y'all. Y'all can see what you think. Does not sound good. Y'all, this thing actually gets down and windy with those lows. Kind of shocked. Sounds a lot better than I thought it would, especially on those lows. And guys, it really eats up that power. Pushing, you know, true 1,000 to 1,200 watts at it. Lower frequencies, it just eats it up. Which means, guys, again, if you had a 2,000 or 3,000 watt amp on this thing, again, after impedance rise and whatnot, I think this thing would still eat up all the power, no problem. That being said, I would recommend, I think 2.5 cubic foot is a perfect box if you're keeping it around that true kind of 1,000 watt area range. Again, that means if you had a 2,000 or 3,000 watt amp, you'd probably end up around there after box rise. That being said, guys, if you're really trying to push it to that 2,000 watts, if you're really trying to get after it, I would recommend a little bit smaller box. This thing just does mechanically unload and max out when you really push the beans to it. And getting a smaller box would probably help that out some. Well, y'all, next up, it's time for the dB test. Put some beans to this thing and see how loud we can get it. We're, of course, going to do 35, 40, and 45 hertz. Meter will be in the kick. Driver's side window will be open. We'll see what we get. Watt meter over here, this tells us the peak wattage. 35 hertz. Got the LF Audio wireless bass knob, so we can adjust it over here. Let's see what we can do. All right, we brought it up to where it was mechanically maxing out. About 2,800 watts at 35 hertz. And a just under that 140, guys. 139.2. Y'all, let's try 40 hertz now. See what we get. 1,800 watts, y'all. The impedance rising like crazy there. But we still get it to, we did get it to where it was mechanically maxing out. Hey, not too bad, though. We did break up into that 140. All right, last but not least, we got 45 hertz. Let's see what we get. Woo! Oh, maxing out so bad there. I didn't have the peak on, though. Let's try that one more time. Woo! And again, it does max out. Again, guys, not a ton of power. Just under 1,800 watts, and a 139.3. All right, not getting a crazy score, mainly because, guys, this thing just really does mechanically max out. Still a 140, not terrible for a single 12. All right, y'all. Time for the musical RMS test. The sub, of course, says it's rated at 2,000 watts RMS, so we're going to play a full song, keep it around that 2,000 watts RMS if we can, and we'll see how long it lasts. Maxing out really bad. Made it through that. That being said, guys, I was not able to really keep it at 2,000 watts. It was more between 1 to 1,500. Two reasons. One, because, guys, it was just absolutely mechanically maxing out like terrible. And when it smacks, it just sounds really, really bad. The cone hits the basket. Doesn't sound good. Two, we were just getting so much impedance rise that the 8K back there was clipping pretty bad. So, again, couldn't quite go as hard as I wanted to. That being said, with it still clipping and with it smacking, it still made it through the full song undamaged. Well, mostly undamaged. As you can see, guys, when this thing maxes out, it does rub a little bit right there, which obviously is not good. Don't see any rubbing on the other side, though. So this thing must not be 100% aligned. Hey, clean looking sub, though. I love the bottom here. Anyway, putting in some work. I think so long as you're not mechanically maxing out, it seems to do just fine. And it does seem to eat up power pretty good. And again, I am happy with how it sounds. Especially in those lows, guys. It was nice and windy. If you had a build with like several of these, I think it would be pretty nasty. Anyway, hey, it made it through that test. That means, guys, we got to do the brutal RMS test on this thing. Of course, we got the new setup for that. That means, guys, 40 hertz non-stop, 2,000 watts. Let's see what it does. All right, y'all, 40 hertz. Oh, no. Well, guys, we made it a little over 2 minutes. Unfortunately, she got smoky on us, though. Whew. Y'all, 2,000 watts is in just absolutely insane rating, especially if you're doing just nonstop 40 hertz, y'all. Absolutely brutal. Even though this thing has a nice big 4-inch coil on it, one thing to mention is that it's got actually a smaller motor at only 270 ounces. One thing to remember, guys, your motor acts as a heat sink. So as your coil gets hot, if you've got a big old motor, it'll actually pull that heat away from the coil. For example, a big fella like this, you just have this massive motor. Again, it's able to really heat sink, pull some of that heat away from there. This guy just not able to do that. That being said, we really were pulling the power. Impedance was rising, pulling a ton of amps. One thing I did notice, guys, my volts over here, they were dropping down to like 11.5. I was watching it really careful. If they were going to drop below 11, guys, I was going to cut it, but sub ended up going first. Now, there is a clip light on this guy, and it did not say it was clipping. The SMD meter did not say it was clipping either, so even though the voltage was not good, we were still putting clean power to the sub. Also, guys, it's insanely cold out here. I know I mentioned that a lot this time of year, but it is cold. Well, guys, I was hoping it would make it longer, but again, $225 sub. If it had made it longer, that would have just been absolutely insane. Still made it about 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Again, for that 225 bucks, I'm surprised it made it as long as it did. Well, guys, this has been fun. Overall, again, for the price, guys, this really is a budget banger. Did absolutely great in my car. The lows sounded really good. Normal music sounded good. And it really did just eat up all the power I was throwing in it, doing normal daily driving around. Two things, didn't really care about it. One, just the fact that if you put too much power to it, when it maxes out, it smacks really, really bad, guys. It just sounds absolutely terrible. Guys, at the time or two, I was driving around and like a song would come on where the notes were a little lower, where the power was a little higher, and it would just absolutely bottom out and smack. Scared the absolute crap out of me. Two, we've got this huge coil, but a smaller magnet. Again, I just don't think it's a 100% optimal setup, but it still made it through pretty good. Things I really like. Love the look of it, the surround, the black and white accents. Really love the big old push terminals on it. Really love that we got the big old beefy double tinsel leads. And my favorite part about it, guys, this is 100% a budget banger. For the price, guys, not much else out there that's going to perform like this. Yo, that's going to wrap this up. Really appreciate each and every one of you. This was fun. Reason I picked this up is because a bunch of y'all commented and told me you wanted to see it. Let me know what else you want to see, guys. Really appreciate y'all. Remember, as always, though, keep basing on.